we'll be speaking. Let
Akbar,
me see my pants. Let's go.
tell me a little bit about you.
Well, I was a B2B software engineer for about 15 years
Me too.
before I moved into marketing, into B2B marketing about 17 years ago.
Mm,
And so I essentially serve as a fractional CMO for well funded startups to small businesses, as well as large B2B companies, both private as well as public.
okay, excellent. Okay, so we have a different set of questions today. I'm very interested in your take on this. So, first of all, let's talk about. We're going to talk about the reasons in a second, but at the higher level, what sort of like priorities or strategies are you seeing shifting in marketing right now in 2024, 2025?
Well, um, slightly different from the previous economic downturns or
Mhm.
slowdowns. This particular time, the difference is that the CEOs who are calling in the fractional CMOs or the CMOs are more knowledgeable about what to expect from marketing. They're more technical savvy. They know what marketing is supposed to do and how to measure their success. That's a significant shift in the conversations that I have with the CEOs. It's a it's a huge welcome for me because now we're at the same level of the conversation and what type of work that needs to get done. The shift that's happening is more pragmatic, actually. The channels, of course, we have the same channels that we've used in the past, right? There's more shift towards the video, short form content. It's more targeted. There's a little bit of, or I should say, a slightly interest or a slight increase in the request for the AI. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Mhm.
Um, I think I think that the AI powered tools are a great assistant to a good marketer, uh, but but they're not about to take over our jobs, not anytime soon, anyway. The shift is happening more from a strategic perspective. The go-to-market strategy. There's more emphasis on go-to-market strategy this
Mhm.
time around. There's more emphasis on the buyer persona, as well as for example, like the target market. Um, and what are some of the new tools that we can use to reach the target audience. There's a huge increase in the account-based marketing request, which we know that it's the same strategy that the door-to-door vacuum cleaner um, uh, I should say the back in for example of the 60s and the 70s when the door-to-door salesmen used to use they used to use uh, um, the fundamentals of the account-based marketing, and so now we have the digital version of the account-based marketing. So there's a huge interest in that. Um, there's also a significant focus on the marketing technology, or the sales tech stack or the martech stack, and
Mhm.
how to make the most out of it. So the marketing operations has a huge renewed interest in, do we have the right technology in place? Do have the we have the right integrations in place? What's my return on investment? How much money are we spending? What kind of reports, as well as what kind of insights, we we can get from the systems as well. One of the biggest, or I should say, the very first question that most of my CEOs would ask them, or
Right.
the CROs, what the CEOs and the CROs would ask me is, why am I spending X number of dollars in my marketing and sales technology where we're not even good, we're not able to get like one good report out of them, right? Why am I spending 60, $70,000 a year and and we're not able to get a single good report or a single good insight? That usually leads down the conversation. What are you trying to accomplish? And do you have the right technology in place? Do you have the right people in place? Do you have the right components attached to each other, the integrations and so on and so forth? The conversation, 90% of the time, the conversation then boils down to, do I have the right CRM system and the marketing automation system? Um, and and so when we talk about the shifting trends, we're talking about really the CEOs or the CROs having two separate focuses. When they bring in a, um, a fractional CMO,
Right.
uh, they want to tackle two things, or I do tend to guide them to focus on two things. One is the blocking and the tackling. That's, you're bleeding, you need a band aid, right? And the second thing is, what are some of the strategic shifts that you can do, long term strategic shifts that you could do to position yourself to the next phase of growth, right? Those are the ones that saying, okay, do we have the right CRM systems and do we have the right people in the team? Do they need uh, new skills, or we need to retrain them, or do we need to move them around because they might not be in the right jobs? Or do we have the right go to market strategy? Are we going after the right people, right? The right audience? So those are some of the long term strategic moves that we can do, while we block and tackle. um, and so um, from a shift of the strategy um, um, perspective, one of the driving factors it is really the economic downturn, right?
Well, actually, can we talk about that for a second? Because I'm very
Sure.
interested in that.
Yeah.
Like, how are companies, do you think, sort of adapting specifically around the economy right now? Like, what are they doing and what have they stopped doing?
Well, it really depends on the size of the company and the
Right.
revenue and the scope, right? So the answer is different for different, right? Um, uh, the quick answer to those, right? Because this is a whole nother conversation. The quick answer to that is, if you're a startup who's looking for funding, the fundings are now delayed from 6 months to a
Right.
year, right? If you are a startup who has just received the funding, usually their spending slows down. They stop hiring. They stop spending money on the things that they think that they need, right? So if you wanted to do 3 trade shows in a year, you're going to do two.
Mhm.
um, if you thought about rebranding or brand refresh because you just got the money in, and now you have to get out of the startup mode, and right, and then you have to put on the big boy pants. So you kind of have to stop spending money there as well. um, if they had hired somebody um, that was not performing, uh, that would be a problem discussion that need to have. So startups tend to slow down because their revenues are slowing down.
Right.
And the same thing happens to the mid-sized and the large companies. But the mid-sized and the large companies, their pain, or the realization of the pain because of the economic downturn, is delayed by six
Mhm.
months or a year, right? Or a year and a half, right? But if you're Oracle, you can be okay for 2 years, right? Or
Mhm.
3 years, um, or maybe 2 years. So the economic downturn happens when the revenue slows down, and the reason for win loss of your opportunities start to change. They're not like, they go from we don't like your solution to we need more time, right?
Hmm.
That's an indication uh, uh, that the CEOs would like to have, is that why are we losing deals, right? Um, uh, so when um, the sales orders or the opportunities stop, that's when the slowdown happens. Unfortunately, the first people to get the first people to let go are
Hmm.
the marketing leaders. And it makes sense if you thought that you didn't have the right marketing person.
Right.
But in my experience, the right marketing team can actually save your life, right? We did that at DTAC, actually. When you see the economic downturns, you can actually have your marketing team double your growth, and we've seen that. And so when the salesperson or the sales leadership is let go, that starts the downward spiral for the company, because the job of a marketing team is to serve the sales. There's only one job for marketing team, is to
Right.
serve the sales. And if you let go your marketing team, people usually have 5 6 years experience working at your company. They have the tribal knowledge and the history. If you let them go, now you have to start from scratch. And so now who will serve the sales team? And that's what starts the spiral down. um,
Hmm.
where 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 the smart marketing people will find a way to close a deal,
Right.
right? It's the content, it's the pricing, it's the packaging, it's the promotion. It's really making sure that you know what the customers want. It's the relationship. You can go back and say, hey, you're not able to pay the whole thing. Maybe we can delay and have a payment plan.
Hmm.
You need it, right? There's so many ways the marketing can provide the sales the support that they need. And so that's what happens in the downturn of the economy. Another thing to notice in the downturn, when the downturn happens in the economy, some of the most savvy long-term visionary CEOs shift their spending from the short-term gain to more long-term infrastructure
Right.
technology
Because everything's on sale. Everything's cheaper.
spending, because everything is on sale. They can buy cheap assets, right? If it's real estate, or if
Hmm.
it's, for example, CRM systems and all this stuff. And that's an opportunity to buy really, really distressed assets, right? If you can buy Oracle CRM or something else, or
Hmm.
Salesforce or Zoho, for a fraction of a cost or a half a cost, well, that's a great, right? I mean, that's a great deal. And because the economy is slow, the consultants who implement that,
Right. Are
including
cheaper. Yeah.
CMO, their services are cheap too, because they need to feed their families as well, right? So it's a win-win situation when the economy is down. That's a great opportunity to position yourself for growth.
So, that's a great answer, by the way. I've had innumerable people in my career tell me that in a downturn, the companies that invest in marketing or don't cut marketing do better overall. You're the first person to ever explain why. That was very handy. I'll keep that one. Okay, so how about this? You've been a fractional CMO for a while, right? You've been in that marketplace. How has finding clients or like prospecting and securing new clients, how has that changed over 2024 and maybe into 2025?
um, Well, I briefly mentioned that my clients, my customers are
Mhm.
more savvy, more connected, more
Right.
technically aware. They know what to expect from a CRO or a CMO. They know what works, what doesn't work. They have already made their mistakes, most likely, or they've learned from their peers as to what to look for. They
Mhm.
ask the right questions. Um, and so um,
Well, is
so
it okay if I ask the question slightly differently then?
yeah, sure.
A friend of yours,
Yeah.
some hypothetical friend, has said, "Hey, Akbar,
Hmm.
oh, for whatever reason, I'm now outside of corporate. I'm going to become a fractional CMO.
Yeah.
Like, what advice are you giving that person right now in this economy?" Like you're going
Um,
to tell them definitely do this, or definitely don't pay attention, or don't do that thing to be
well,
successful.
yeah, to be really honest with you, so I'm a marketing purist,
Hmm.
right? As far as that concerned, I'm also a technology purist, right? So for me, I would throw the marketing fundamentals book at him or her,
Hmm.
most probably by my professor Phil Kotler, right, from Kellogg. And what I want that my friend to do is to answer some fundamental questions. Why you? Why should people
Yeah.
hire you? Right? What's your differentiation? What's your target market? Right? Well, what are you going to deliver? What's your unique value proposition? Because you're now a business, right?
Yep.
So why should people hire you? What is it that you really want to focus on? And the answer to those questions really then determine what type of customer you should go after, right? Because you might be a fractional CMO, really um, um, you might be like an ideal fractional CMO for some companies and
Mhm.
not for the others. So you really need to understand what is it that you bring to the table. My personal philosophy actually came from my theater days, where my professor pulled me aside and said, "What do you want to become?" And I said, "I want to direct." And he essentially said the best director of theater, film, and movies
Mhm.
is the one who has done all of the underlying jobs.
Right.
You know how to dry clean the costumes. You know how to do makeup and hair. You know how to design sets. You know how to paint sets. You know how to run the backstage. You need to understand everything. And the job of a director is to really know what the end result looks like, and your job is to guide the whole production team towards it, right? So
Right.
in my philosophy, I don't like one trick ponies, right? There are some CMOs that I've heard that says, you know what, we are a digital marketing CMO, right? Or I am a strategy CMO. In
Right.
my opinion, the um, the the system of marketing and sales so interconnected that you touch one area, it will show up in all other areas, right? You shift a strategy, you need to make sure your CRM system can support the insights you need in order to give you that strategy insight. So there are these things that are interconnected, right? So the best CMOs are the ones who really understand the inner workings of the entire company, right? The people, the HR, the skills, the technology, the process, and your customers and market, as well as the strategy, the buyer persona, the
Right.
messaging and the positioning and pricing. They need to understand everything. You change one thing on one side, it will impact three other areas.
Okay. So I got one more question
Yep.
before we wind down. All right. Oh, I'm curious about, and it's a relatively wide question, right? But as far as marketing strategy or marketing tool or marketing communication channel, however you want to approach it,
Yep.
what's underrated right now that people or companies are really not paying enough attention to that could show them some pretty good ROI, depending on if it matches them,
Well,
or what's
um,
overrated?
well, there's a lot of things that are overrated. Let's, um, well, in my opinion,
Yes.
so what I've seen work is it's the the personalized communication.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, we can do all the things that the marketers say that they do. And one of the questions that one of my favorite CEOs actually asked me, okay, great, Akbar. So we do all of this stuff. How do we actually connect with my target audience? How do I reach my target audience? Right. And the answer is that it's the personalized conversations it's the personalization. The personalization, the delivery of the personal message or the personalized message really depends. Do you have the right technology? Do you have the right tone of voice? Do you have the right content? You have the right timing? Right? You have the right device, right? You want to be where the customers are at the right time and where the right. There is this duck feet paddling that make the personalization happen. And the personalization is really the first two. um, it's a subject line of email, or it's the first line of your social media. It's the image that you use in the social media. It's the tone that you take in your video. It's what you say in the phone calls when you leave a message, right? That's um, um, you know Steve Jobs used to say, right, marketing is about values, and it's a noisy world, he used to say.
Yeah.
Right, how do you cut through the noise? Right, are you delivering the right value? Yes, and nine other people are supposedly delivering the right value. How do you connect with your customer? That, I think, is that's really is the most unappreciated um, marketing tactic that I can tell you, and it works every time if you do it right.
Look at that, right on time.
Sorry.
No problem. Okay, so let's wind it down. This has been so great talking to you, and like you and I have never really like had a conversation before. Just a couple of minutes one time. Um, who should be contacting you these days, and how should they reach you?
Well, the CEOs and
Yeah,
the CROs, who may be feeling that something's not right, or in
sure.
my particular case, they know exactly what's not right and they need help. Right.
Right.
There are CMOs who are in the right place at the right time, but they need help. Half of my clients are actually CMOs because they're like, you know what? I have so many things to do. I don't have time.
Mhm.
I need
Yeah.
a 2.0, or I need a mini me, right? Or something, right? So somebody like me can go in, who thinks like them, who talks like them, who are virtually them, can take half of their workload and help them execute that faster, right? So those are the three different types of people that I really deal with. It really works well. And the best way to reach me is really LinkedIn.
Right.
If you were to do the search, you can find me there as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you.
I mean, it's
Really
not
enjoyed.
often I someone finally explains something to me, and that I've been hearing my whole life, but no one actually like clarified it. That's fantastic. That's
Well, I
a win by
appreciate I
any
was able to
definition.
help.
All right. Thanks for being here, Akbar. I really appreciate it. Nice meeting you again.